Good evening, Tigercast fans. Hope you're all doing well. Grock and I are on tonight to answer some of the hot questions from the viewers. We also probably owe a little bit of apology in this first one. We're going to kick things off with Josh Smiley. Is he a lock for round one? We reckon he is, but we probably both didn't think this was going to be the case. I will put my hand up that I wasn't so sure on us even drafting him, let alone him being a lock for round one. And I know it sounds stupid, and I want to start by saying that in Blair we trust, of course, but just based on the vision that I saw, Grock, I was a little bit, I don't know, I wasn't overawed with what I saw, but, you know, you look at all the training videos and the reports from what we've seen so far, and the kid's setting the world on fire at Punt Road.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in the same boat as you. I wasn't sold on the selection of Smiley. I thought he may have been another RCD type as that taller midfielder that doesn't come along. And I think that was compounded by the fact that his form dropped off once he got to the national carnival level as opposed to the talent league where he was dominating. And once he came up against some more talented players of his own age, his ball winning sort of dropped off a bit. So there were question marks on that. But yeah, seeing the clips of him at training and shrugging blokes off in tackles and like just his kicking and everything. Yeah, I've got a strong feeling that he's definitely in the mix for round one.
No, I was the same as you. It was the champs highlights that were probably making me and ah a little bit, because that's usually when the better players, they'll rise when they've got those other good players around them, but he kind of stagnated or didn't progress. Maybe he was just cooked by that stage. The whole raft of reasons that I probably didn't consider personally when I was making that judgment. But, as it stands right now, I'm very, very glad that we took him. And I don't know if this is too much of a stretch, but I would say if the draft was redone again tomorrow, I don't think he gets to us at pick 7. I think based on what maybe clubs have seen with him adapting to an AFL environment, I think he might go before our pick.
Yeah, quite possibly. Just seeing the way that he's been mixing it with some of the harder bodies at training. Obviously, Hopper, even McAuliffe, who's really solidly built now. Like McAuliffe has bulked up, and seeing Smiley being able to compete with those bigger frames. Absolutely, he's sticking out like dog's balls at the moment. Just he's offering us a different dimension, and it's clear to see that the height and the frame that he has gives us another weapon, which we desperately needed in that midfield.
So we're happy to right now call, you and I will wear this one if it doesn't come off, but we are saying Smiley is a lock for round one, injury permitting. We can't predict the future, but in that sense, but I reckon he's as close to a lock to round one as we'll see from the youngsters.
Yep, at this stage, I reckon he's the one. If anyone of the draftees from last year play, it'll be Smiley.
And what would be interesting to know is I wonder how much of it is helped that he wasn't the number one pick. Like, he obviously was touted number one for so long, and obviously with that comes a heap more pressure and things like that. Lawler's just carrying on doing his rehab and building into it because he hasn't done a full preseason before. So he's kind of under the radar in some senses. But I just wonder if Smiley feels a bit more freedom and less stress on him being just a pick 7.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the freedom to play. All the hype is going to be on Lawler. And even a couple of the other players as well coming into round one. Obviously, there's going to be talk on Lynch if he's fit. Obviously, Prestia, all of these types of players. They'll be the question marks leading into round one. Smiley will go in, no pressure. It's just go in there and do your thing, sort of work.
And would you be starting him in the midfield? I know I've seen a lot of people's best 22s having starting straight in the guts, or do you play him up forward? Do you try him? I think he played a little bit of juniors on half back and did some good things. Where would you play him straight off the bat?
Straight in the guts. Get him in and around the ball. If we want him to be the player that we need him to be, chuck him straight in. I think we've gone past the point now with younger players throwing them around on the flanks, and it shatters their confidence. We've seen what it's done with Sonzi, who's struggled. Jack Ross, early days where he was thrown all over the park. Just play them in the positions that you drafted them for, that they've played in, that's their natural game, and it'll work out.
Put him up against Paddy Cripps, his mentor, straight away. Just go head to head and see what happens. I mean, there's nothing to lose, really. But there's no expectation on us as a club to be winning, 10, 11, 12 games. Let's be realistic. So we may as well get him in there. He's got the size and, just see what he's got.
Imagine the Raw round one, if opening bounce, if he gets a clearance, shrugs Cripps off, runs to 50 and nails the goal.
I don't know if the MCG could handle that. I'm not sure. It might collapse on itself if that happens. That would be an amazing sight. Now, a few people have been asking as well, what do we think about the other draftees? Is there anyone else from the new crop that we think could be in line to make a debut in the first few rounds? Obviously, Lawler is probably one that people were thinking may debut. I probably myself thought he might debut early, but as preseason goes on, I'm probably leaning the other way just because he's got still a lot of conditioning and training to get into him, recovering from the hamstring injury first and foremost, and then getting up to speed. So I think I'm starting to feel like now he may have missed, by the time it comes around, might have missed a little bit too much to get himself fully prepped for a round one start.
Yeah, I thought he would start round one as well, but if he does, it will probably be on the bench or as a sub, and I don't think that sends the right message to a pick one if you start him as a sub. I just think that's a poor look. We saw it under Dimmer a lot towards the end, where he's players debuts as subs, and I don't like the look of that. I'd much rather Lawler get the runs in the legs, get the miles in the legs at VFL, building, the match fitness against the bigger bodies, and then come in.
What about the Smokey for me? Ironically, isn't Trainer, although I would love to see him start round one. It's actually Elgar. Jasper Elgar for me is a bit of a dark horse to debut round one. He just, even though he's the youngest of the lot, and maybe that's going to work against him ever so slightly, but based on just his footballing ability, he's very clean, good mark, he's chasing hard, doing all the right things. I just think he could be a sneaky chance to find himself on a bit of a half-forward pocket role.
Absolutely, and it comes down to some of the other players as well, obviously Mansell, MJ. If one of these picks up a bit of a niggle before round one, he's every chance to come in. I don't think he will debut round one. Obviously, Mansell, MJ, they'll be definitely ahead of him in the pecking order. But yeah, it just takes one niggle, one injury, and your shot opens up.
He's a chance. And what about the talls? We've got Jonty Fall and Armstrong. I mean, I probably thought that one of them may get a look in early, but if you've got someone like Fawcett who's probably next in line to maybe have a go first, he might see some game time earlier than those two. But maybe it's an earlier in the season debut for one of those lads.
Yeah, Liam Fawcett is the one that I'm hearing is a potential smoky for round one. The club's been really impressed with his attitude around all the setbacks that he's had, and now that he's fit, just the amount of hard work he's actually putting into getting his body right, fitness up, and everything. He's been working really hard in the club, and the coaches have been really impressed with him. So I think he's going to be the one in the pecking order. And then when you've got players like Bauer, who can play as a tall as well. You've got Lafau, who'll be coming back. I'd be surprised if we see Fall or Armstrong at AFL level next year. Of course, we've got Samson Ryan as well up forward. So if Fall or Armstrong are getting games, I think there's something seriously wrong injury-wise if they're getting games.
No, that makes sense. And look, I was probably a bit bull at a gate with wanting to see them play because of how talented they are. But you're right. I mean, yeah, just in terms of body and physical development and things like that, you've got to make sure they're ready to go in that sense. But if they don't play AFL, it's going to make VFL super exciting to watch. And hopefully they have a good understanding of what their role is at the club down the future as well, if that's how it plays out. But no, very, very exciting times. Well, there you go, folks. We are locking in Josh Smiley for a round one debut after not being sure that we should even draft him. We've done a complete flip, but he's seriously been super impressive. And all we can do is give him the credit he deserves, proving a lot of people like us wrong. We're happy to eat some humble pie on that one, but we look forward to round one. And let's lock in Josh Smiley for a round one debut.
Absolutely.